Hello everyone, welcome to Oakleigh Watches, where this week we're going to be looking at 10 things you can do to help avoid buying a fake Rolex. Years ago, it was fairly easy to spot a fake Rolex, the kind of thing you buy on a beach when you're on holiday overseas. In fact, this is an example of one of them. This is a classic example of what people used to think when they thought of a fake Rolex. This is, of course, the famous factory standard PVD black finish Daytona. Yeah, they never made that. Um, it's got a quartz movement. It's got a horrible dial, horrible hands. It's got a rotating bezel. Never see that on a Daytona. It's got a nasty, fake, cheap bracelet that doesn't do up properly and has the wrong clasp. And all in all, it's nasty. Nobody is going to look at this watch and think they've got a real Rolex Daytona in their hands. But these days, things are significantly different. There are factories mainly in China where they're creating Rolex replicas, Rolex fakes, that are so good, they're really quite difficult to tell from the original, even if you've had significant experience. We're going to be showing you one a little bit later. So the question is, what can you do to avoid buying a fake Rolex? So the first thing you can do to avoid buying a fake Rolex, something you've heard me say loads of times before, buy the seller first before you buy the watch. Now, obviously, we would very much like it if all of you bought all of your watches from us. That's not going to happen. That's not realistic. So what I'm saying is, whoever you buy your watches from, make sure you work out that they are respectable, trustworthy, they have good reviews, they've got a lot of experience. With the greatest of respect to all but the most experienced of you watching this video, I'm going to show you some of the things to look out for, but really, you're probably not going to be able to 100% confidently know whether the Rolex you're buying is genuine or not. So what you have to do is you have to put your faith in somebody who does know, somebody who has got a lot of experience, someone who's handled thousands of Rolex watches and who will tell you confidently that the one you're buying is genuine. So buy the seller first. Number two, if something looks too good to be true, of course it is. With this, we're talking about price. Since the advent of the internet, everybody knows the price and the value of everything. Nobody is going to sell you a £10,000 Rolex for 5 grand because they don't know what they've got. Just not going to happen. So if the price looks too good to be true, it is too good to be true. So avoid at all costs. Number 3, and the first thing that's actually related to the watch itself, this is about the kind of quality that you can expect from a genuine Rolex watch. We've got this Rolex 116610 LV Hulk Submariner date here, 2010 Submariner date. It's a genuine one, you'll be pleased to hear. When you look at the dial of this watch, when you look at the hands, when you look at the bracelet, the finishing on the case, you expect it to be exceptional. So if there's anything about the watch that doesn't look absolutely perfect, it's extremely unlikely that it's a genuine Rolex. So you can expect the Rolex watch that you're looking at to be perfectly made. If it isn't, it's not real. Number 4, check the weight and the feel of the watch. People will say, oh, you can always tell a fake Rolex because it weighs significantly less than a genuine one. Now, that's sometimes still true, as you saw with that black Daytona that I had in my hand earlier. That's a cheap piece of rubbish, and you could tell that a mile off. It's got a quartz movement in it, it's got no weight to it, it's not made out of proper materials. A lot of the super clones or fakes that you're dealing with these days, they have automatic movements in them. They're made of 904 steel. The quality of the materials that they're using are very close to the quality of the original. So if you put them side by side and weigh them, you're not going to see a significant difference. You certainly are unlikely to be able to tell by holding it in your hand with nothing to compare it to and just thinking, oh, that feels a bit light, because it won't. However, it's still worth looking at things like, does the bracelet articulate properly? This is a genuine Rolex Hulk. You can see everything moves smoothly. The catch on the clasp all moves. It's all beautiful, beautifully made. The bezel rotates with a nice solid click. So check it. Does it feel right? This doesn't by any means guarantee that what you've got is a genuine watch, but it might just show up a fake. Now, one place that's definitely worth checking is the Rolex crown. The crown on a Rolex watch is tiny, but it's a very important piece of engineered stainless steel. And you can tell by looking at it that the logo on the crown itself is perfectly created. The knurling on the crown should be crisp and sharp, and the screwing motion should be tight. So always check the crown, give it a good look. The fact that the Rolex logo doesn't line up with anything on the case isn't a giveaway at all. As you can see on this genuine Rolex Hulk we have here, the logo doesn't line up with the case at all. They're all random. They just sit where they sit. Getting down to the nitty-gritty, look at the dial really carefully. As we touched on earlier, the Rolex dial is perfect. All the printing should be perfect. Everything should be perfectly in line. Everything should be crisp and sharp. Even if you're looking at it under a 15 times loop, a 30 times loop, everything should be absolutely perfect. If anything is out of line, that's not a factory Rolex dial. One absolute classic giveaway, certainly for older fake watches, is the Cyclops and the date magnification. It's surprisingly difficult, apparently, to make a Cyclops that magnifies to the power of the Rolex one and glue it on to the crystal in a way that makes it completely transparent and makes it work perfectly. Now, Rolex have got that sussed. They've been doing it for decades. The counterfeiter traditionally hasn't been able to do that. So if you look certainly at some older fakes, what you will find with the date window is it doesn't magnify sufficiently. Certainly doesn't magnify anywhere near as well or to the size that a Rolex one does. So well worth checking the Cyclops. I have to say, with the modern super clones and the modern fakes, they've got that down as well. Moving on to the heart of the watch itself, the movement. Most buyers are not going to open the back of a watch, neither should you, and not necessarily going to know what they're looking at if they were to look inside there. But the movement of a fake or a copy is always going to be inferior to the real thing. One thing you can do is you can unscrew the crown on the watch and you can feel how it winds. Now, it should be smooth, but most importantly, it should have resistance. You should be able to feel a certain resistance there. If the movement is of lower quality, as it would be in a fake watch, that crown is going to move quite easily forward. It's not going to be like pushing it. It's going to kind of fly away on its own. So that's definitely something that you can check. Again, if you haven't got a definite real one to compare it to, you may not necessarily know, but it's worth checking. The box and papers discussion. Well, it must be real. It's got box and papers. All I'm going to say about that is, if a faker in a Chinese factory can make a watch that would convince a lot of people that it's a real Rolex Hulk, they can certainly recreate a plastic card and a cardboard box. Now, finally, for the last part of this video, I want to show you a real Rolex Hulk versus the best fake that I've ever seen. This watch on the left is a genuine Rolex Hulk. It's worth about £14,000. This watch on the right is a fake, came out of a Chinese factory. It's worth smashing up with a hammer. How can you tell the difference? How do they compare? Let's have a look at these two watches in detail. Firstly, let's see how they feel. In the hand, they feel very, very similar. It's possible that the one on the left feels a little heavier than the one on the right. Could that be a little bit of bias on my part because I know this is real and I know it isn't? The bracelets feel good. The clasps, they feel good. You know, there's not a massive amount of difference between the two. If I have to be honest, the fake one doesn't feel as high quality, but again, that could just be bias. So what I've got here is a standard set of kitchen scales, and we're going to put each watch on them so you can see. They have the same amount of links in the bracelet. Everything about it is exactly the same. Now, you'll see that the genuine Rolex Hulk, that weighs 150 grams. Let's take that off, and we'll put the fake on there. That weighs 148 grams. So there's 2 grams difference between the two watches. I don't think you can hold one in one hand and one in the other and feel a 2 gram difference when it's 148 to 150. They've got the weight thing right. Let's have a look at a couple of other things. The bezel. If I turn the bezel on the genuine watch, it's very positive, a very positive click. There's definite resistance there. Now let's have a look at the fake. It's very positive. There's a very positive click. There is, again, definitely resistance there. This one maybe feels a little lighter in its movement. It could just be bias on my part, or it could be a little lighter. The point is, if you have a genuine one next to it and you churn the bezel and then you try the fake, that gives you the ability to go, oh yeah, that one feels a little different. But let's imagine you didn't have this watch here. Let's say you just had this one and you turn the bezel and you'd go, yeah, feels good to me. It doesn't wobble particularly either way any more than a normal one would. It makes the right noise. It's got the right resistance. So actually, pretty good. Let's look at the colors of the dial, the color of the bezels, compare them just in this light here. If I turn the fake in the light, it is perhaps less deep. The green is a little less deep than the real one, but the green is deep. You know, it doesn't look cheap and rubbish. It doesn't look bad. So if I didn't have a real one to compare it to, I could easily believe that the colors on this right-hand one are correct. They're certainly not sufficiently wrong or out of line that you'd pick it up. If we look at the text on the dial, we can zoom in on that to some extent here. You won't be able to see it really and compare the crispness and the clarity. If you looked at it with a 30 times loop, you would be able to see there is a little bit of difference. One thing that's interesting is that the shape of the crown on the Rolex logo is right on this watch, and quite often the fakers have got that wrong. If you compare a real one, they've got the proportions of the Rolex logo incorrect. This one's really good. You can see that they've taken a lot of care and they've copied this one really accurately. One other difference between these two watches is something really odd, and I can't quite make out why they would get this wrong. If we look inside the bracelet clasp of the genuine watch, you can see that it's like a satin sandblast kind of a finish in there. If we look inside the clasp of the fake, which is all very solid and it clips down properly and, you know, feels all good. If you look inside there, the finish inside the clasp is highly polished. So there's a definite difference there they've completely missed the fact that on the original watch, that's got a sandblast finish, whereas on this one, it's high polish. The biggest giveaway of this watch, without taking the back off, is when you wind it. We pick up the real watch, unscrew the crown, it's nice and tight against the seal. I wind this forwards. There is real resistance there. You can feel a smooth resistance. It's kind of like stirring custard. Pop this one down and compare it to the fake one. We unscrew the crown. It pops out like you would expect it to. This is more like stirring water. There's no resistance there. You just sort of rotate it. There's nothing there. That is because the quality of the movement inside is nowhere near as good. So that is a definite giveaway, and actually not something that you would need another Rolex watch next to it to compare it to. No Rolex watch would have that little resistance on the crown when you're manually winding it. So final thoughts. How do you avoid buying a fake Rolex? You've got to buy your Rolex watch from somebody trustworthy, experienced, with a great reputation that they would never want to lose. That's your answer. I wouldn't authenticate one of these watches just from a photograph that somebody sent me on WhatsApp, let alone buy one. If I was sent photographs of this fake Rolex Hulk and somebody said, "Can you just have a look at it and tell me if it's real or not?" My answer is always, I can look at it and I can tell you if it's fake, but I can't look at it and tell you if it's real. The Daytona we looked at earlier, if someone sends me a photo of that, I can tell you just on first glance that is definitely a fake watch. If you sent me a photograph of this Hulk, I would not be able to say that is definitely a fake watch. Therefore, I can't tell you that it's real either. You just wouldn't know from a photo. You wouldn't know from a video. Unless you had the real thing in your hand and you were experienced, you wouldn't necessarily know by looking at it and handling it and checking out all these points that we've discussed. If you take the back off, you would see that the balance in the fake watch isn't a free-sprung balance like it is in the genuine watch. But again, this is expert level stuff, best left to somebody who's got the tools and the equipment and they know exactly what they're doing. So, final thoughts. There's something that feels wrong about this fake Hulk. When you wind it, when you hold it, when you move it, it just feels a bit wrong. And that alone would certainly steer me away from ever wanting to have anything to do with it. The genuine one just feels right. If you're looking to buy the real thing, buy it from a reputable source, be really careful, because these fakes are getting better and better all the time. I hope you've enjoyed that. I hope it's been informative. If you have, please like, please subscribe, please share, and we will see you next time.